So, welcome to the sharing about sacred sites. Um, yeah, we are in Nepal for I don't think more than 10 days, but it feels like we've been here about a month at least or something like that. So, yeah, all these three years that we have these sharings, somehow this topic has not come up. But this
Although
is
that's most what we do.
pretty much the visits and energetic exchanges at sacred sites is what we do all the time. As a matter of fact, lately, all the travels that we have done are only to visit some sacred sites. There is pretty much no other reason why we would travel. So finally, this topic comes up, and we realize that now, kind of visiting one of the most sacred Hindu temples that there is. It's Muktinath temple here is in Himalaya. We realized that a lot of people, including like really people who are serious about it, have little idea why they are there and how to communicate with the place and how to interact. There's a lot of unconscious, roaming around, making buzz, thinking, speaking, taking selfies. And, we realized you probably need to pay some attention to sharing what would be more aligned way to interact with these places. What are they actually really? So that's how the topic came about. So to begin with,
Let's have our teas.
let's raise our
Say
cups.
cheers for one more Saturday.
Hmm. And hey, Claudia. So, cheers and welcome. And do you have something to say at the beginning, or do we ask uh, these beautiful
Yeah,
people for some
well,
sharing?
pretty much everyone we know on the screen is very tuned to sacred sites and power places and energy. So maybe you have really something interesting to share from your perspective, or a question about what would you like to know, which aspect of communicating with power places on Earth is intriguing or not clear. So, yeah, it's I turn it to you, and please do share whatever is for you important in this topic.
Yeah. Was there a specific question, maybe that you visited a place that something stayed unclear, or we will share towards during the session the actual protocol with all the details that kind of encompass theoretic part of it, so that we don't skip a step. Then if we apply that principle, then we will really technically correctly connect to a place. But other than that, we would love to hear from you guys. Everybody lives in some special place and close to the sacred site. So
Yeah, Sylvia has hand up.
Sylvia's hand up. Let's hear your sharing, Sylvia. Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
exactly. You're right. It's a different way of connection between the natural sites and the principle the same, but a
There are
little bit
some
different.
details that
Mm-hmm.
are included. Yeah, yeah, beautiful question. We will certainly speak about those different sites and make sure that we cover the difference between the natural and man-made ones. And actually, we will list several of the types of the places, including some more than just these two. Uh huh. Who else would like to share? What is your experience or a question around sacred sites or something that you would like to share? Your unusual experience about it that maybe you couldn't classify.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, go ahead. Yeah, thank you. We will talk about that. And yeah, it's a very nice question, especially this part that we don't really always know what is going on. And some precision is usually, well, the more precise we can be about what really happens, the more benefits we can have. And yeah, yeah, great question because we deal with things that are invisible but are detectable with other senses. Yeah, we will definitely talk about voice. Thank you. Would someone else like to share, ask a question, or state what your interest is around the sacred sites?
Well, then let's
Then we can
let's
dive
dive
right
in.
in. Yeah.
So maybe we can start with just this very basic but important understanding about how we interact with the energy of a place, how we, as beings of energy and frequency, how do we interact with
Any place.
any place, any place in the world, and given that we have a specific speed of vibration, a specific color and density and all
Energetic
other
signature.
yeah, energetic signature. So we walk around with this energetic signature, and we encounter places with different energetic signatures themselves. So the place where we live, it's more or less already attuned to our field, and is when we feel that something feels familiar, that means our fields have already merged and equalized the differences. Maybe you have noticed when you travel to a new place, you're either kind of super uplifted or super kind of contracted, because
Or
they
irritated, or
yeah, because that frequency difference. For example, if we come from Europe to Kathmandu, the first thing is like like, you know, because the density of action, the speed of the place and everything is so far from what our normal speed is, that it feels like, you know, you're thrown out of the boat.
including like speech of all these people, their thoughts, their background culture, their religion, everything, like the density of action, density of traffic, all of that contributes to what this whole place resonates with. Like if we compare New York, for example, to like a beach in Cyprus, obviously super different vibrations and energetic signature.
But and that's also sometimes effect when you know, I used to come to Bali so many times per year in and out, and every time I come, I feel a little bit lost, a little bit kind of weird, disconnected, hanging in the air, not knowing what to do. So I have my little path. I go to Chantika spa to do nails and to ground as soon as I can, because this like feeling you're like a bubble suspended in the air, because the frequency is so different, the density and speed is so different, that we cannot perceive the environment in kind of integrated ways yet. And also you know, our timeline is not stabilized yet. So it usually takes 3 days. 3 days is the shortest and the longest that it takes to integrate a place and to completely equalize and merge with energy of the place. Very shortcut is day and a half, but for like different continent or island, it really takes 3 days to blend in.
Especially if like the time difference is quite strong, and if there is
Or
jet lag
north-south
and things like this.
hemispheres,
Yeah.
like geographical distance and difference. So we have to respect, because there's no really much to do to speed up the process. So when we arrive somewhere and we feel odd, it's just because our resonance is different from the place, and it takes time to harmonize both. It's like tuning forks. Both places are emitting a signal,
So
and they meet somewhere in the middle.
yeah, the two parts of this is the frequency. It's almost like a chord on the instrument plus rhythm. If we have gotten somewhere where we are completely out of the time zone, then we have gotten with the different rhythms. So then we have to catch up with the rhythm and start to play in that tune. There are shortcuts to that that we have discovered living so many years between Bali and Europe.
And between everywhere, actually.
But if we don't use shortcuts, it's about 3 days to really fully attune to it.
We have friends who complain that, you know, they have such short holidays, they fly over to a beach, and for like 3 days they cannot relax. They just cannot. They think, okay, I'll go in the lay on the beach and have fun, and they just cannot stop, because of that inner speed is so different from the place. And also events, there's not much happening in those first days, except if and that's also something to remember. sometimes you can see the place with very original kind of look when you come from this different speed. You know, living in Bali, we know how it's, you know, a little bit rusty and moldy and this and that, little shortcomings on all sides. But coming from Europe for those 3 days, I can clearly see, for example, in my guest house, what is wrong and what needs to be fixed, because that difference allows us a completely different perception.
Fresh view.
Yeah.
Similar to when we come back, for example, from Vipassana retreat, where we have been for many days in silence, all of a sudden we see so clearly and feel those different vibrations so clearly. So, for the time before we have attuned with the place, we are able to absorb and feel those differences in vibrations very acutely. It's almost like you have glasses on.
What helps a lot is to build the bridge already beforehand to where you're going, like what Ariel does when she comes to visit us in moonlight, projecting the intention and already building the energetic bridge to the place where you're going, so you don't have to really spend the 3 days adjusting, and events start already happening and the place is welcoming and the road sort of opens up.
Yeah.
So that's something to know if you want an original look at the place that you haven't been for a long time. The first 3 days will show you how it is before you blend and see it from the bandwidth of the place. The first moment is very kind of fresh. Or if you want to click in straight away, then you project your intention before you arrive. And sometimes, you know, when I have to be like across between Bali and France, sometimes I project my light bodies already to the destination, and then I drag my physical body behind. And it sort of works also for jet lag.
The light body is already, well, the most important part of us already attunes, and then the body comes and just kind of snaps in.
Yeah.
So this is our shortcut for jet lag.
The mechanism is so either the physical body goes first, and then those 3 days the other bodies kind of travel and join, or you project voluntarily the light body beforehand and then just bring the physical body along.
Yeah.
So those are little kind of tricks that have come out of
They will be covered in our steps and in protocol as well. But now we are kind of giving a little introduction to that.
Yeah, but to say that because of this being a resonant being, any sacred place will necessarily resonate differently than we normally are. So that's why they have been recognized as power places, because they have a way different vibration than average human being.
To explain?
And it does something.
Yeah, so for now we spoke just about any place, but how do we know and how is sacred place different than normal place? It is a good analogy is scuba diving. So when we are going to the normal places, it's almost like snorkeling. We get to the different depth, our body can kind of accept certain different in pressure, but we cannot really go very deep without scuba equipment. So regular places are kind of places until where we can snorkel with comfort. Sacred places have much, much, much higher and different energetic signature. And at that point, we are actually dealing with scuba diving equipment. We need to go deeper. The difference in environment is bigger, but what happens is we have to actually gradually get there and to decompress in certain depths in order to actually be able to even communicate and exchange with it. Otherwise, we are in such different frequencies that nothing happens. We just visit it physically, but nothing had happened.
Yeah, so which is also a possibility to visit the sacred sites. Not everybody is ecstatic about, you know, Stonehenges and pyramids and everything. They zoom through, and it really does not impact, because it doesn't happen at the same level of of frequency, I have to say. So when it's not adjusted, when that resonance between the place, the power place, and the person is not established, then it can totally go in parallel without anything really happening, which is a mechanism for safety, because if everyone who steps into power place gets the actual frequency, my God, their demons and dark corners would burst out in a completely unpredictable ways.
Just like scuba diving, their lungs might explode, and literally so. So then, what is a sacred site versus some of the regular sites that we see and are in different frequency? The sacred site would be a place that has significantly different energetic signature than your usual places where people are, and this can happen for different reasons. Some of them are natural reasons, and mostly all of the sacred sites have started as just a special nature place. And it had to do with so called synchronic lines. Synchronic lines are the lines that actually are rivers of energy that are happening under the ground, on the surface, or slightly above the ground.
Or ley lines. They're not quite the same things, but the ley lines we have kind of more heard about, and those are the electric pathways, like the veins, the nervous system of the earth. And as in the body, in the nervous system, there are specific
Acupuncture points.
acupuncture points and nodes where those lines converge. Same for the earth. So we know very famous kind of ley line converging points that, for example, run across south of England, France, Egypt, Bali, Peru. So those are kind of known, and they're mapped in different ways as chakras, as this, as that. But let us not be carried away by what they have been defined to be. But using the potential of what these energetic lines carry, we can really enhance something in our lives, or perform healings and all kinds of things.
So usually what had happened, people of stronger sensitivity have discovered where these places are. Maybe some of them had maps from the generations before,
Or
and
shamans.
they have started converging and actually doing things at those places that are of a mystical nature, so to speak. Connect to ancestors, connect to the spirits, offer offerings to the divinities, and so forth. And by repeated activity of that type, those nodes, energetic nodes, have started to actually accumulate even more of energetic coherence. And when we speak about coherence, it is almost like you can think about magnet. Regular metal has those molecules in every possible way. Magnets are coherent. They have coherent energy, so that they attract one another. So to speak, when we start doing sacred and spiritual things at those sites, the conduciveness of this place to communication with the divinities starts to get stronger and stronger. Like we are widening the cable of communication between the unseen etheric world and the material world.
There are ways to recognize the natural power places in the nature, and it was always done with observation. And we had a beautiful course with in Damanur, where we were completely blown away by what it takes to spot a power place in the nature, and how precise it is actually. So the place that has a very strong magnetic kind of field will always have, for example, the trees kind of splitting in 2 or 3, even those trees that normally have just one trunk, they will split in 2 or 3, like birches. It's not their habit to split. Or the trees grow in circles, but in really perfect circles, and form kind of like a little bubble, like a little nest. Or mushrooms grow in lines, or or stones are in kind of without the moss, for example, in those places that have strong positive energy coming through. The stones do not grow moss, for example. So all of these,
plants and mushrooms are much more attuned to these things than us who are much in our mind.
Grass, for example, has different kind of green, and and when we are sensitive, and when we lower our vibration to match the one of the nature, because the trees are vibrating much slower than us. So it takes to really attune and observe and contemplate the place, to start seeing, where the fairies live, and where's the guardian of the nature. And it can be done very easily with patience, and really taking time, and with kind of pure and simple thought. That's how it's the best to approach the natural sites, and you will, again, by resonance, be invited to a specific, to sit on a specific stone, or to be in between like particular trees.
So then we had these nature power spots. Then we had places that humans have built something on top of them, and by imbuing rituals and mystical work, they have made it even stronger. So those are man-made that have originated as nature power spots. And then we have a third type, which is specifically man-made power spots that are created on purpose. And one example of that is this Dhyanalinga that Sadhguru had made, which he had consecrated a big rock to imbue it with the certain energies that he wanted it to have. So he had done it specifically through the ritual to make it into the technology, spiritual technology that he will use later for consecration rituals and different things. So it's completely man-made. So you have either natural that has been upgraded through use. So this is man-made that originated as natural, and third ones are completely intentionally man-made technology sites. Pyramids, for example, Egypt pyramids are this as well.
Yeah. For example, in Europe, the Celtic sites, they were always in the nature, and they had always kind of particular elements: little water, top of the hill, oak trees around. And there's like, more you look and more you get familiar with how a sacred site looks or feels like, more you can just smell them, and more
Sense them.
your kind of inner senses will guide you to one. It has been incredible amount of times that, for example, we drive, and we say, okay, let's just stop for a tea, and we sit, and then we start looking around. Wait a minute, like we're sitting in the middle of some sort of circle, because at some point we really we have this magnet in our field, which will always be drawn to heightened or specific frequencies. What has happened, unfortunately, for most of very particular Celtic power sites, almost on every site that was special, there's a church standing there right now. And this is where the energy coming from the earth is not compatible with the destination that has been given to it through putting a church on the top. So in very few places there's a coherence between the energy from the nature and, for example, some chapels of Mary Magdalene or Mother Mary do somehow work together, but most of the time they don't, and which creates even worse than you know, it's not just killing the original energy of the place, but even distorting it in some bad ways.
So this is actually interesting point. That original energy that was uh, flowing out of the power spot in nature really goes through the filter of what has been built on top. So if that filter is, like a religious filter that goes through certain rituals that are actually non-aligned, such as like Christianity at this time and age, early Christian church probably still didn't have those alignments, but through centuries of, slowly deteriorating the original idea, what mainly happens with those power sites is that that energy is hijacked and put into whatever institution stands for, and that's why uh, there is quite a bit of an alignment in many of those church captured or temple captured, religion captured
Hmm.
sites.
And it might feel quite odd. Those churches feel odd and off because you feel that there's something, but the overlay is just kind of like a bad music. It just doesn't go together.
Mhm.
But a good example where it works together is the Cathédrale de Chartres, because there actually it's the Celtic power place. Again, little hill and water spring, all the elements of Celtic sacred site. Plus, the cathedral has been built in a very, very aware and particular proportions and geometry. So the whole place is. I first read that when you enter this place, you will not go out the same, and I thought, yeah, well, big words, but actually, I have to say that this might be very, very true. That the building with its geometry cooperates with the energy that it stands upon, and it's a beautiful, holistic, uh, sacred spot, and it really works.
If you're interested in actually learning more about this, there is the book by the writer Fulcanelli, very alchemical writer, and it's called Mysteries of Cathedrals. And he writes about sacred encoding, and this is encoding, alchemical encoding on specific alchemical processes within the architecture which are not known by the church fathers. Like the guys made the temple to use this in alchemical ways, and it passed beyond the knowledge of priests. And those sites, this is Chartres Cathedral, is one of those, are actually continuing to be magical. And we
Hmm.
can use them if we understand the code. They are amplifying what we are going to do there.
Hmm. On the
Sorry?
Vastu. No, Vastu is a little bit different. Vastu, I love Vastu, and it's kind of done in India and in Bali. It's actually being sensitive to the currents of the earth and orienting, uh, like properly capturing the energy coming from the earth through the geometry of the house, and the way to lay it out. Same for feng shui. It's really cooperating with the land and its potential. Or Vastu and feng shui, they have capacity also to change or adjust or to better the current coming from the earth through the geometry and through positioning of certain things. So Vastu is very nice. It's very respectful of the elements. So it's mostly based on the elements, where actually European cathedrals are based on, um, I would say, measurements like the sacred lengths and phi, and it's more mathematical. Uh, Vastu is more elements, and the balance of the elements that create harmony.
Yeah, those alchemical builders have gone to amazing levels of detail. I really recommend that book for you guys who are interested in
Mm.
decoding these things and actually maybe encoding something into the architecture that you are making.
Temples in Bali are 100% Vastu kind of based, and same for compounds and houses. They really they're aware of this interaction between the energy of the land and body and house, because the house, of course, is the medium between our physical body and the land. So very important. But also, as much as the Chartres Cathedral is a good example of symbiosis, some of Bali temples have actually done the opposite. Like the intention that is put on a sacred place does not go together with the energy that's coming through, because the man's intention is not compatible or misunderstood. So those places turn into like negative energy vortexes, which are more of kind of vacuuming the energy out instead of, like sucking it in and out of the people instead of giving. And that's what we will need to be very aware of, because not all sacred sites, for example, Stonehenge, would advise to be very careful with energies of Stonehenge. If you are not in some very specific ways guided to interact with Stonehenge and use its energy, there are layers that are very weird. So of course we can connect to it and be perfectly fine, or get what we need out of that interaction, and it's still fine, or tap into some hidden layers that have corrupted that power spot, and it becomes like a draining vortex.
You guys who live in Bali actually have amazing opportunity to actually feel all range of successful nourishing temples, and also the very energy stealing ones, the ones that are actually very weird and
Collecting.
collecting the energy from you, because a lot of those impromptu temples around, random little rivers, but like full of dirt and cigarette butts and stuff like that are not energetically maintained. So really, there's also, it's almost like a school of schooling your sensitivity towards what is aligned or not. So just because somebody has found the temple and kind of wants to do something there, and they assume that this is a sacred site, really it doesn't mean that it's going to be sacred for you. And this is actually one point that we want to make. The place might be called a sacred site or a power place, but it completely might not be power place for you. And for you, it can be draining and actually stealing your energy, and even implanting, different things that go on there, maybe without our knowledge.
Yeah, there for example, Eleanor will know, there are many natural power spots in Latvia, but like really mystical, uh, completely in the nature, and those places have been acknowledged throughout centuries. But there's one, Pokaini, yeah, which is so, let's say, energetically strong, but not in a good way. So it can be beneficial if people know how to turn that frequency into something, like convert it into something positive, or else very weird things happen to people who visit that particular forest. And from where the misalignment comes is very interesting, because it was a power spot before the Russians kind of came and invaded. And it was a power spot because of certain position of stones, big granite, immense stones. And then during the war, those stones were misplaced and shifted in the different positions, which created almost an opposite effect of creating a lot of distortion in the place and in people who visit. So even those who feel nothing really feel things in that space. But how to make if you know what to do, you can make out of any place something beneficial for you. But if you don't know what to do, it can completely scatter the energy field and create, quite a damage.
Mm-hmm.
And same for those Baltic states are full of these interesting spots. And also, Anne, for you in Finland, you have those mystical lakes that have no bottom, or big stones that create a magnetic field where things go weird. All of those nature energies take almost a shaman who knows how to enter and structure that energy. So that's why being very careful and respectful and observing of how is the life, how does the life look in the power spot? Are the plants greener, or there are no plants at all? How does the nature, living beings react to the power spot? Sometimes it's a sacred site, but you see that nothing grows there. So
Oh, you can tell the story about Taiwan. We were in a very powerful nature site. You would think that this is a super powerful, beautiful, lush energy, and we've done a little ritual among the palm trees and so forth, and then we continued going even higher. It's in the mountains of Taiwan, and we have entered the spot that has some weird plants. It has these huge ferns. It almost looked like, giant mushrooms under which we somehow got ourselves. And we were a little bit careless. We haven't properly connected to the guardians of that place, because we thought, okay, we already done it in this previous place that completely had different energy. So we entered in a little bit of like, it's like really a lower spirit world. But the weird thing was that it was higher than the other one. Usually these huge ferns are lower, and then higher we go, we have those, higher types of plants.
Well,
And
it looked like from Japanese, those Japanese animated movies, like
Spirited Away.
Spirited Away place.
So maybe, yeah, you can explain what happened to you.
Yeah, well, the point is that sometimes when we walk in the forest and we are not aware of where we step, literally there are territories. There are territories that have more or less, governance from different spirits.
Yeah, which mafia controls this one? This
So
was
there are, fairy spots with meadows. There are like darker corners. So it's safe to say that pretty much everything belongs to someone, and some don't mind that we kind of just get over, but some do mind. Some want a tax. So they don't mind if you are going on established path, but as soon as you step off the path and wander in the woods just to see, you might get a slap of a branch, you might get, some sting in the foot. And what happened to me when I stepped a little bit off the path, some, I don't know, a branch or whatever, something very sharp, sliced my thumb, like with
a
a
big toe.
the big toe with like incision. And out of that wound, you can see like in a movie, like those drops where a drop of blood was trying to come through.
So I had to jump with like a Kleenex and actually clean it up. But because the moment that you actually put the blood as donation, as offering to the place, this is like the most mystical connection with those lower beings that are controlling it. So we had to actually prevent that type of connection, because through blood, then we would have to do a serious ritual to disconnect Evia from that place. And we were not aware that, oh, okay, the guardians of this place actually want blood donation, not like the beautiful piece of fruit or
Flowers
something that we were giving in the other part. So the tax that we paid before wasn't
valid
valid
for.
for this one. And this is going to be very important. What type of offering is compatible with the place where you are going to do whatever your intention is?
And this comes from observation, because if we were a little more careful, it would be very obvious that we're in some kind of spirit world with the ferns, little moist mushrooms, even the little tables and chairs were in shape of mushrooms. So you can tell if you just stop and observe a little bit. So the result of that wound is that it wouldn't heal. It didn't. It completely. It continued kind of being infected over and over and over, and it took a month and some extreme measures to actually get it closed. So that was the price to pay for carelessly stepping in into some realms non-invited and non-prepared.
It would be fine if we had the right offering to give, but we didn't.
Yeah.
So
Well, of course, it happens in those very spirited places like Japan, Taiwan, Bali. It's not necessarily that there are that kind of beings in Europe or Canada. There are spots in Norway, and usually they are known when people give weird names to forests and hills and lakes. They have noticed that there's something interesting going on. So paying attention about the name of the place, it gives already indication of what to expect, what kind of mood and a flavor the place is going to have.
so
And actually, what's the point? What's the purpose? Why would we travel from sacred place to sacred place? What do we want? Except some thrill, fun, or interaction with different spirits.
yeah, that's a good question. Why do we go there? What do we want? What do we want there? What's happening?
We're mostly driven to collect some kind of frequencies, because every power place that we connect to adds a certain thread. Imagine that you're collecting many different threads. The more colors you have, the richer will be the fabric. And some are more attuned to like religious, for example, I don't know, Tibetan Buddhist frequencies, some to nature, some to just everything. So every power place will leave an imprint in your fabric, in your field, and will bring the richness, and will be like a laissez-passer, like a little
Like a
passport,
passport.
whenever you encounter that type of energy for the next time.
But even more basic than that, pretty much we go to the sacred space either to receive something or to release something. So energy either comes in and we do something with it, or we go to release something out of us and leave it there. Third thing that we can do is we go there to kind of observe what the function of this place is. But this already requires quite higher level of consciousness, because we
And to
have to actually really
collect
understand what's
wisdom.
going on. Yeah.
Because when you visit, for example, so many people have been to India, Himalayas, and all kinds of places, for example, young, or because they traveled through. So even if we were not able to collect conscious knowledge at that time in that place, we have collected at least the frequency, and we can retrieve the wisdom out of that frequency that we already possess, because we have consciously been in a certain place. It happens to me, for example, if I know that I need a little connection with some of Bali spots that I like very much, I know that all I have to do is to connect really to that imprint that the place has within me, and it comes to surface. It comes
It's like a password.
Yeah. What I noticed also, it's very interesting that spirits of different places are keen to interact. So when I go to Buddhist temple with I don't know, Hindu or Latvian spirit imprints, they are very curious to connect. They're very curious to interact. So sometimes they really welcome something exotic, and sometimes they don't. And when it's a no, you have to be observing and respecting a no, because some power places are reserved only for those who completely match their frequency. For others, it wouldn't bring anything or be even a little bit toxic.
Unwelcome.
It's like certain foods, like if you're not meant to eat certain foods, better don't.
Yeah.
Not forcing a connection with a place that doesn't really want to interact. That's also to respect.
So maybe we can go through the steps of actually really kind of what are some steps. You by this some of these examples you already can see that we can either completely miss the point and waste our time and kind of being there and nothing happens, or even like force ourselves upon what's going on there and be aggressive, and that also either nothing happens or something negatively affects our health and stuff like that. But what can we do so that we actually get the maximum benefit out of visiting these sacred spaces? And I guess we will really start by clear intention. Why do we go there? What is it that we want?
What is it that we want? So it might sound a little bit conflicting, our usual kind of let it be, let it flow, don't put any conditions, go how it comes. But actually, when it comes to conscious interaction, that consciousness part really helps. So again, there are two versions. Either you're conscious of your intention, or you get the universal kind of allowance to interact with sacred site from the space of your heart. You just have to announce that you come in peace with your best intentions, and you kind of connect to the frequency of your heart, and then nothing really can stop or interfere.
Rule of thumb for all of these steps, and we have something like maybe 5, 6, 8 steps, is we act as if we are going to visit a very honored, wise person. Maybe, if you like the notion of guru, you can think, okay, we are visiting a guru, or we are visiting a very highly wise, respected person. So what do we do when we come to the house of a highly respected, wise spiritual guide, for example? Well, first we announce ourselves. And first we prepare ourselves. We probably cleanse and dress in the right place.
No, I think we start with intention.
Let's start with intention, yeah.
If you have intention of, if you have idea, would you like to receive or release? Yeah, because the kind of the mood and the procedure is not quite the same if you want to receive or release. And that intention, you can fix. It doesn't have to be carved in stone. It's focused but loose.
So number one is emitting intention. That's like literally step number one.
For example, this sacred place that we just visited in Himalayas is a very, very sacred temple for both Hindus and Buddhists. It is to Hindus and Buddhists what Mecca is for Muslims.
Or Jerusalem for Christians.
Like that point that every Hindu will visit once in their lifetime, but it's very difficult to get to it. It's 4,000 meters altitude, impossible road to get there. So it needs
it's a pilgrimage.
It's a pilgrimage. It's not like a quick drop in, plus the weather, plus the cold, and plus hotels without heating. There are all kinds of little things that
to confirm the seriousness of the intention.
Yeah. But of course, we have a definition of that this temple is to receive the blessing to attain the ultimate liberation, like dissolution of karma and actually finishing one's incarnation and the soul in this lifetime. So it's kind of like ultimate nirvanic possibility. So that's the title and that's the promise. But if there's no intention of why would you need that? Why would you want to dissolve yourself? What would you use it for? So there's a little meditation to be done to connect with the place and to see if it's even appropriate for you know to go, and is it the moment. Uh, Seeing how is it that you would use this promise of, for example, ultimate liberation or whatever the place declares to be. So the intention might be, yes, I really want to finish this lifetime. Or you can also give more space and say, I would like to receive it as a possibility. And then I will live with it and see. Yeah. So really opening it wide enough not to constrict it to something too tight,
Yeah, so that's why we
to leave
say
the space for miracles.
exactly intention needs to be profound, but it needs to be also loose to say, okay, I would love to do this, but I will accept something even more and even better if this is what
Hmm.
comes.
Because the rule of the thumb is that you know you might know what you need, but actually you will get what you
What you really
really
need.
need, and it might not be what you thought you needed. Yeah, because when a sacred place takes you in and is serious about your visit, it really gives you with very kind of with precision what your energy says you need and not what your mind said you wanted. Yeah, it has been, it has been proving true every single time. So interaction with the sacred place is like a dance. You don't grab your partner, you don't force it to dance in your rhythm. You kind of slowly get in groove with you really get in groove with the place and energy. And yes, Jill, exactly. So we can share how Jill connected to the temple through us. We were actually in a very specific Buddhist little village that is ancient, pre-Buddhic.
Hmm.
You have heard of Bon religion, a very animistic Tibetan Buddhist branch. So we were in this village, which is actually dedicated to releasing ancestor souls, dissolving like huge karmas, letting people die, all about death and dying. The whole place un, uninterruptedly dedicated for death, dying ancestors and stuff. And Jill all of a sudden sends us message because she's trying to transition her mom, and she wouldn't want to go because she's immensely afraid to die. So sometimes this is exactly what happens, that people sign in and through someone else who is in the right temple get the connection.
The
That's
codes and wisdom that
exactly.
is not like received through the mind or words, literally received through the frequency.
Yeah. So sometimes one representative goes to these places because others, don't have time or money or possibility or company, but it benefits the whole network. Whoever kind of calls or suddenly signs in receives the same kind of benefit, not directly, but in the doses that they actually need, because sometimes it can be too much. So that's yes. Yes.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's well, this is how it works. Um, it's like we're like relay antennas for each other's processes, and they if we respect that synchronicity. So how to know? The second point is, how do you know that you have to go somewhere? Ariel would say, I just know. Because she has trained herself and she knows exactly where she needs to go, what she needs to do. And because she has spent years in muscling that kind of certainty within.
Yeah, the discrimination. What is the
Mm-hmm.
real drive and what
Mm-hmm.
is, the mind's
Yeah,
idea?
exactly. For me, it's a mix of kind of careless wishes and it just happening more in kind of chaotic but very specific ways, because this is what gets me out of my mind. The whole trip to here was that I couldn't find where I want to go for my birthday until I sat down and I had this like absolutely clear idea of I want to go to Nepal, but it was like something, but it's not possible. And then Vittorio says, "Okay, let's
Let's do it.
let's let's just go." And out of the whole Nepal, I knew exactly that I want to go to that valley without exactly
Mustang Valley.
without knowing what to do there and why would I need to go. But from one synchronicity to the other, mind might suggest the timing. It was very close to 11:11, yeah, that we could be there. And mind would like, let's
Mine would
be
force
there.
it to be there right there because
Mm-hmm.
it's so nice 11:11.
Yeah. But then we have to observe the synchronicities. And let's say for me, the synchronicity is about the flight tickets and how easy it is to book the ticket. So when you see that you have idea to go and like it's about when to go, you have to see when is the easiest. When it's like everything is just opening and unfolding. So instead of forcing to be there on 11, we said no. Well, there were better tickets like 3 days later.
It's that dance,
Mm-hmm.
dance with synchronicities. Does synchronicities, do they reject this dance or they accept the dance? If they accept the dance,
Mm-hmm.
it goes easy.
Yeah.
It goes in flow. If they reject, there will be millions of little problems that are telling us something.
Not
Get
now.
out of your mind. Doesn't matter that it's 11:11. This is the mind thing. Let's get to something better.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
observing these synchronicities is super important.
So as a result, we happened to be there on the 13th, which is much more death appropriate than than 11. And looking back, it always gives reason why it had to be that particular way. But the dance goes like this. For example, I know I want to go, and then I'm like, so will you invite me? There's a positive response. Okay, so then I'm
One
going.
step,
And when?
one step back,
Okay, we give you good tickets on this particular date. Okay, I bring myself there. So
step
now
by
what?
step.
And the synchronicity were just mind blowing because the second we arrive in Kathmandu, tuck, 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 we connect to the guide who organizes the whole trip in one evening, the day before we have to go.
Who we didn't even know. He just
Yeah.
came in through a
And he
friend.
said, oh, you're very lucky because I was going to the family ceremony tomorrow for 5 days, so I wouldn't be able to organize it any other day but today, Or, oh, you're very lucky, the tickets, flight tickets are available. Actually, they are not, but we found two. And then, oh, you're very lucky, this is the 1 week in
Of
3 months
weather.
of good weather and blue sky, Oh, you're very lucky because today it's a Shiva day and this is a Shiva temple. You're so lucky. So you see, this is the yes and yes and yes and yes on your path. When you have a serious pilgrimage, it's confirmed. you don't have to guess. It's like, oh, you're so lucky, out of all times this is the one it's open.
By the way, it's
Or
cloudy again. So
hmm
that was the
the
only
window
days
opened for
that
that.
we had fully clear skies, sun, whatever. Now we flew, everything is covered in clouds.
Like we wouldn't see any mountains at all. So this dance with synchronicity and the place and the energy that is actually sometimes you think you want to go there, but maybe it was the other way around. The place called you. Come. Come, you need to do something for us, or come, I have a gift for you because you know you resonate on that particular frequency. So those of us who are kind of grid keepers and earth shamans and cosmic connectors and all sorts of like public service, I would say, the public galactic service beings, we might be called by the place, and then the place provides how to get there, when to get there, and takes care of all the details. And this is a cool, actually, feature if you can acknowledge that the place is inviting you and providing for you how to get there and what exactly to do there. And the sign is the synchronicities that you're somehow very lucky to be in the right day in the right place. So that's about the timing, setting the timing based on inner feeling and synchronicities and respecting it, because it won't shout. It will be very quiet and it won't repeat itself. It says go.
But
What did you say?
literally, consider it a dance with the universe, because that's really how gentle it is.
Mm-hmm. And then the preparation. Preparation might include that you take some.
So this is step number 3. Let's just be clear. First was emitting the right intention and being precise but loose, so that better thing can come up. Number 2 was the timing. This is what we talked about now. So number 3 is the preparation.
Mm-hmm. And preparation, it could be the sacred place around the corner, or it could be really the pilgrimage to Mount Kailash or something. So when you are the preparation for a small or a big, doesn't matter. You have to be very, very open to all kinds of even weird ideas, what you need to pack with you, like what to bring with you, because it's amazing. We've found that going to those sacred places in Japan and Taiwan, the spirits somehow made us bring mangosteens from Bali. Why mangosteens? I have no idea, but we always ended up
They
with
don't have it.
weirdly
Yeah.
some mangosteens out of, like, we had nothing else but mangosteens, and they were like greatly received. And mangosteens also travel from country to country, so there's something about that fruit. And if we don't judge it, why do I need to travel with a bag full of fruits, or why do I need to take some crystal, or why do I need to take some, it has happened to us that we travel so much that we have items from like 5 countries at any time in our bag, like Greek cookies, French apple, Bali mangosteen, and the Turkish delight
They
all at the
find their
same time.
place.
and
They
then and then you open the bag and say, wow, I have all that. And actually the place wanted
asks for something of that.
little bit exotic gifts. Yeah. So one rule is never underestimate the power
Don't
of
rationalize why is this supposed to happen. It makes no sense. It
yeah,
will not make sense, but it will be magical.
yeah.
Actually, magical things usually don't make sense, and it's great rule of thumb not to overthink it.
So it's almost like a mantra. I don't know why, je ne sais pas pourquoi, but I had to take this, or but I had that on me, but I had these crystals in my pockets. So these I don't know why are very important part of a sacred journey, believe me. So preparation includes also finding out what do you need to wear to match the place. You don't go with the same outfit to Amazonian jungle or to Bali temple or to Hindu temple.
Yeah. What do you need to wear and what do you need to offer? These are like interfaces of interaction with subtle energies. So specific clothing, we know in Bali that we have these Balinese sarongs and everything. They are imbued, infused with energetic interaction on that level. So they're encoded.
It's like a passcode, like a password. Sometimes you say, "Oh, the tourist, but I don't have exactly. Oh, but I don't." You know, they tell you exactly what to wear. I say, but I didn't have that color. But it matters. If you're being told how to present yourself, everything matters, from short sleeves, long sleeves, covered legs, uncovered legs, um, traditional, like a feather in the hair, anything, painting on the face, whatever it is that is the code. It's like a password. You know, same thing. You cannot connect on internet if you don't know the password. You cannot type just anything.
You don't know the site, the location. How are you going to get to that place? So literally, these are subtle ways of connecting with these energies that, yes, you can do without, but connection will be poorer.
Or no connection, because when you want to connect to the Wi-Fi, even the capital letter or small letter matters, let alone the exact word. And the miracles for hundreds of sacred journeys in Bali, I can tell you the level of miracles that happen when you just, you know, shut up and listen and do as you were instructed to prepare. It's opening a completely different realm of interaction. There's this temple, Besaki, the main mother temple. When I went there as a tourist, I was completely devastated by the harassment, the annoyance, the noise, and everybody jumping, grabbing, wanting to sell something. I didn't feel anything. It was a horrible experience, and I said never again. When I went as a worshiper, I have to say, on a conscious way, nobody.
We don't even see these people.
Yeah,
I don't
they
even
don't
know where
exist.
they are. Yeah.
They're no more like begging kids, dogs. Like we enter from completely different space. Like it's like a different world.
Literally different place. Yeah.
So the password matters. So prepare yourself accordingly to where you're going. It will open a great deal easier.
And same go with the offering. We'll go to the offering
Yeah.
a little later. Okay.
Well, so number 4, offering.
Well, yeah.
What do you bring with you now that you're properly, kind of respectfully dressed? What do you bring as offering? Offering by nature, by definition, is something that takes a little effort, financial or time effort.
Let's call it, it is a tool of interaction with the divine. So this is the tool through which we can exchange.
As much as you invest your attention and pay attention to the offering, the better you will be received, and not overlooking the little details. Oh, but like approximately. That approximately will also come back in the same way.
That little bag with a little comb and a little red and yellow paint, well, they have specifically encoded function. They're not there just thrown in. They have, there's a reason why it's been there for generations and generations. So it's there with a reason. At some point, you will know all the elements of the offering, and you will know exactly which one does what. But for now, we just trust it. Somebody has prepared it, and let's learn why they're there.
As a minimum, when you go in the nature and even have a tea or cookie, always share it with the spirit of the place. Wherever you sit, you drink your tea. Well, give a sip to the nature. Put a little piece of cookie. Put a little whatever you have next to the place where you sit. You'll have a completely different experience of the nature and the place when you share with it. You immediately enter in resonance, and it gives the best that it has to offer for you, including, I have noticed, blue patch of sky over just your head for the time that you're sitting there. Incredible amount of miracles happen when you come announced with open heart, respect, and sharing
and willingness
what you
to
have.
share. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's almost we are eating together. I give from what I am supposed to eat. I'm giving you in full joy and full love for sharing with you.
So and the nature spirits are also very keen on touching a little bit your joy and experiences. So if we open our experience and offer the spirits of the place, of course, if we feel like to taste a little bit
Of our
of,
joy.
like they're watching like a movie through us, places we've been. So my French nature mountain spirits would rejoice to watch a movie of Nepal, of Himalayan, nature spirits. So in exchange, they provide like immense joy and just making you have a good time.
You can imagine they're planted there for an eternity,
And
and
they
we
can't
come
travel.
and bring them the movie from France. It's amazing for them to see that and to be part of it.
We had a funny thing with Zane. So we decided to do a very kind of steep, long hike to some altitude lakes, and at the bottom we were soaking feet in the river, and just saying, okay, so spirits, whoever wants to come with us, we carelessly offered the spirits of the nature, the river that are at the bottom of the mountain to come and visit with us, like we don't mind. Except that when we were crawling up on four legs, really, it was so hard, so heavy. And halfway through, I say, Zana, it feels like we're dragging the whole forest with us or something. It's like, oh my God, guys, it's not like that. Either I let you where you were, or you
You push, help.
help us to get through. And from the moment that we assign them the task, so don't sit on our backs, but actually
Push us.
push us to go forward, the whole energy changed. We couldn't stop laughing, we were singing, we were like being foolish, and literally it felt like we don't know how the other half went, because we were so kind of hilariously high, because all of those spirits like giggling almost in our backs, kind of, because they were excited to see what's on the top of the mountain where they can't go because they don't have the body.
Well, we have the body,
So
but
we took them for the hike, for the ride, and of course then we have to remember to put them back, bring them back where they belong, and not carry them to our house because that's not where they belong either. So interacting with spirits can be very much fun, but we have to be specific, because sometimes when we kind of invite road spirits or car spirits to travel with us, we are set in a dense traffic jam before we realize that, oh, maybe too many car spirits want to travel with us. And then, mindfulness, awareness, that's most of the time the key. But the offering, this is also what we can offer. We can offer to give a movie, a glimpse of what it is to be human, to the spirits of the place, if really it feels comfortable.
yeah, to give them our legs, to give them, our body to interact with, to give them our joy. This is what they love. They love
most
our joy.
precious gift is our joy. And this is where we come to your question, Marley, about the voice, why you feel like singing in those places. Because this is also how they interact. This is how the place can express itself, through the vibration of your voice. It's very compatible. It does not need to mean anything. It does not need to transform anything. It's just the spirits of the place are playing on the strings of your
vocal strings,
on your instruments.
Yes.
Really, like spirits of the place are playing through Ariel's actual instruments that she brings with them. And it's amazing how particular instrument wants to come, and some spirits prefer this or that. Some places play on her drum, some places play on her other
Crystal
things.
ball.
So it's just understanding that this is a matter of interaction. It does not have to have a particular goal or agenda. It's a little symbiotic moment with the place, and that's all that it needs to be, really. Unless you have a super guidance to do something precise with the place for you, or somehow, yeah. But most of the time, if there's not like super precise guidance, it's just this interaction that is fun and enriching for both sides. You offer your human resonator, and the invisible plays through your body and creates a tangible frequency, and it can be very, very pleasant. So in the case where you actually go to a temple or sacred site to ask for help, ask for resolution or something, or ask for information, whenever you want a concrete, it's like going to the guru, you know, you don't go just to hang around. You go with a question, or you want a blessing, or you want something released from your... Then extra care needs to be put in crafting the offering, not to overlook anything. In Bali, it's very easy to buy the whole set of offerings, but you have to buy it for the price. You have to buy it yourself. Now, when we went to the temple here, our little guide, he's just a young boy. I bought offerings for all three of us, but he insisted to give me the money back for his offering, because he said, no, I have to pay for my offering, otherwise it will not count.
Mm-hmm.
And this is very true. For
You
us,
have to
it's a
give
very little
your
money,
energy. Exactly.
but we have to feel that it meant something to us. If we do, I'll drop a coin of currency that I don't care much about anyways, like well, it will be taken from you in some other ways.
The
I had a
proportion.
very specific
Yeah.
experience about that when I went to Bath in England, and I connected with the water goddess, because I had constant water problems in my properties, leaking, hot water, like every possible, like unexplainable, unfixable water problem. And I go like completely innocently to this temple of the water goddess Sulis, ancient goddess, and I say, like, what can I do? Can you please, like, do something to calm my water issues? And I gave a insignificant offering that didn't mean much to me. The same day, I had very precious earrings with a precious stone that, irreplaceable. Washing my face in the sink under the water in the hotel, the earring falls out and falls right in the hole of the sink, swallowed by the pipe, And I'm like, sorry. And then, on the top of it, I forgot in that same hotel my most precious blue crystal, which is also water related. So I apologized to the goddess. So she gave me back at least the crystal. Earring is gone. But this is how, if you ask more than you offer, it will be taken in ways that are not comfortable. So, better
Make
if you have
sure
big wish,
that you
big
give
offering.
an honest exchange for what you have asked for. It has to
Yeah.
be really honest. It has to mean something.
And if it's a temple like Balinese temple, it has to respect the code, because the spirits are used to receive in a certain way, and it's really a shortcut. So don't improvise too much, but if there's a code, follow the code. It's really
You can
a shortcut.
improvise once that you really have mastered the system so much that your improvisation actually makes it even more meaningful. Otherwise, we follow the code, and
Yeah, don't do
this is
less.
safe.
Don't
Yeah,
do less.
yeah.
It's not worth it. If the most precious things are that are craft yourself. I have seen people go to sacred places with a flower that they pluck, from the bush
Completely
nearby,
meaningless. Yeah,
and try
lazy.
to offer. And of course, we can't really fool the spirit. We can't. It's If you try to fool the spirit, you're fooling yourself, and it's not worth it. In that world, everything is a fair trade. So if you're fair, you'll receive very fairly. And even the misaligned places, they still follow that same code of fair trade. So if you go to, any kind of misaligned demonic spot, still the same rule applies. You give what you can, and they'll leave you in peace. We have traveled through very tricky places just by making a little fair trade with the lower spirits of the place, and it works. They don't care as soon as long as it's fair.
Alcohol, cigarette, something that
Yeah.
they want things like that. I mean, what they really want is blood, but this is, then we get into the realm of black magic.
So any kind of place has appropriate offering, and find out which or feel which, and don't underdo in a way.
Not underpay.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So then number 5, now that we have crafted the offering,
Now we are
so
showing up. How do we show up? How do we arrive?
so we show up with, of course, open heart and mind. That's very important. Open heart because you initiated maybe this contact, and open mind, not having any expectations and pressure on, we don't want to pressure the spirits or the place or the temple that, I must have exactly this, yeah?
Again, it's a dance. Imagine pressuring your dance partner to go and dance with you. It's not gonna work.
Yeah.
So
open heart and mind, then pure and simple intention. We don't have to have a wish list of on 3 pages. The purest and simple intention. If you don't need anything in particular, then actually you can just wish for a blessing or for a knowledge, whatever you need at that moment, if you know. But keep it simple and non-limiting, non-restrictive. But of course, if you go to the guru and you have no question, he says, well, then you'll get the blessing. If you have a question, you might have an answer. If you have a problem, you might have a solution. So it's really treated as an old wise person that can do whatever you want, but if you don't ask, they won't give.
because they don't really know what you need.
If you, like a Jill, she could have reached out to us when we're sitting in the mega death and dying village. She could have said hi. Well, we would say hi. She says, hi, I have a dying mother, can help somehow? Well, of course we can, and if we cannot, then we say, no, sorry, it's not the moment and we can't. But if you don't ask, nothing will happen just by itself. Asking but not commanding. So always this kind of harmonious.
Yeah, this is really important. That attitude is really not forcing yourself onto the sacred place, not forcing your intentions, and kind of being super sharp in your mind. This is what I wanted. This is what I'm going for. It's really, humble and simple.
Mm-hmm. With respect and acceptance of the rules of the place, you comply. However you're told to do things, you do things without too much judgment, and it will be unique experience anyways. Here in this super trooper Nirvana temple, it was a Hindu based, and we are very much used to kind of Bali, very kind of organized and clean and beautiful and feminine ways of conducting ceremonies. But here it was Hindu, pretty brutal, straight to the point, and not much. Not
There's
much
just
of.
too many people. There was no time. Actually, one thing talking about this is what is priest. Priest in Balinese temples and a keeper of a temple in a sacred place is your translator. So he knows the language of the spirits of that particular place, and he's the one who will actually eventually open the communication channel how he knows to do it. So this is what we use them for.
And we don't judge. If I was to judge, I would say, this is too fast, and they're too intense, and not much of holiness in kind of doing things. But that's the judgment. then if you take it back that this is how it operates, like that energy is a Shiva temple. Don't expect little flower on the top of your ear, you know. It's a Shiva purely full on
High voltage.
high voltage, like mega water charged. It's not
108 sources of water.
Yeah. So you do how everyone does, like push with elbows, you know, to get to the holy little shrine, and hand your coconut in, receive it in 2 seconds back, blessed, you know. and and so that free mind is accepting that it is how it is, and we go along. That's it, without comparison, and because that's also indicating of the speed of the place. Yeah. In Shiva temple, everything goes very fast indeed. So that brings us to point number 6, which is now that you have showed up, there is this little period of harmonizing, attuning, adjusting, and connecting to the place. And
so this is literally, it is electrical adapter, voltage adapter, you know, like waiting so that is, or scuba diving decompression. So when are we going to be at the same level so that the interaction can start?
it's like even when you come to Guru, you're not like straight into his living room. You have a waiting room, you have a little tea before. There's some kind of little journey before you actually connect to the point of your interaction. And that harmonizing, attuning, and adjusting usually is some sort of waiting and observing what people are doing, how the trees grow, what's up in the sky,
Feeling the place.
really just observing and letting your energy settle down to the speed of the place. In the Shiva temple, for example, it was the opposite. It was coming, and almost like we had to come the day before to attune, because when we come for the ceremony, there's no sitting and observing. It's like you go in those cold water springs, and you can't take your time there. It's like, so it's below zero, and you go.
Yeah, the ceremony is actually, it's -2. The ceremony is you get practically naked, and then you go under the
spring waters,
the 108 sources of the water, and then after that,
immersing into ponds that are almost frozen, like 4 degrees as a maximum. So in that way, but we crawled up to the temple the day before for this purpose of attuning and adjusting before we actually go there. Because when you go there, like, you cannot like take your time and be chill. It's super cold, gloves, hat, and then you quickly run through the water and then quickly try to kind of heat yourself back.
well, yeah, as composed as possible. I try to go very, very slowly and with intention. So, and you,
He was the slowest of everybody, because the Hindu guys were like running and screaming, and the whole place was intense from this built up energy, because really it's not comfortable at all, but that's the price to pay for liberation, I guess. And our discomfort is also a big gift. If we can offer our discomfort, it's too long, there are too many people,
it's too cold,
it's too cold, I'm hungry. If we can offer our discomfort on the altar of the event, it all counts as offering as well. We offer our preferences.
This is super important, actually. This, kind of being in the state of meditation, and in the state, like, while this interaction with the sacredness of the space happen, we really need the single-minded. It's happening fast. It's going to be the shortest part of the whole thing is the actual act of interaction, but we would need to be in complete one-pointed concentration, meditation, and full like embodiment of our intention. So for that, we don't allow the mind to go and scatter around. We don't allow the body to scream, oh, this is too hot, this is too cold. No, we actually are in single pointed concentration and intention and go through it as meditatively as possible.
Yeah, because actually the longest part is getting there. The shortest part is the actual interaction. And then the longest part is integration. So you might as well pay attention to the longest part. So your interaction is pure, full on, simple, powerful, and meaningful. Because, it's quite a journey to come from France to these, like, with millions of planes and buses walking, and it takes a lot. So I better make the most out of the 10 minutes that I did all that for. And when we're doing the pilgrimage, actually, we're offering also the journey, the whole way to get there. Whether it takes you 5 minutes or 15 days to get to your point, you offer it. Yeah. It adds to the meaningfulness of exchange.
So yes, we are talking about the step number 7, and this is interaction, the actual interaction. That's the shortest part of it.
Before the interaction, though, there's one very little but very crucial moment. You need to be invited. When you are at the moment of interaction, you do not decide when is the moment. The place says, okay, now it's in. It's like a nurse opening the doctor's door. Now, sometimes they have this mystical, you think the doctor is alone in the room, but she's still not opening the door and you're waiting for something. And then suddenly she's, okay, now. So this is exactly being patient, non-judgmental, and waiting for a clear invitation by observing the signs.
So an illustration of what is happening in that harmonization and just before the interaction is the space. You are opening your inner space. You're opening the doors of your soul. And you are putting the cable in that is going to be plugged into the most sacred place of the sacred space where you are. And you are waiting for them to open the door for you. You are coming with your cable, you plug yourself in. The moment that we are under that water, we are plugged. That's the moment that we are plugged. So we are open. Otherwise, we are closed because we have to protect what's inside of our space. But now, in that harmonization, we have opened the place of our heart. We have a cable in our hands, which can be crystal or it can be anything that you use as a cable. And you are waiting for the place to invite you to plug yourself in. And when the moment is right, then the interaction starts. And that interaction is the most brief part, but extremely powerful.
So the very specific moment of invitation has a paramount importance, because it's down to the planetary position, the hour of the day, of position of the sun, anything. So that's why we always wait for that moment where the place says now.
It's now, yeah. And then we go plug ourselves and go through this.
Yes, Ariel. Ciao, ciao.
Big hug. We will connect with you a little later this weekend.
Yeah, so now that, when you get the signal that you're received, and it goes for any kind of place, the smallest kind of nature spot or the biggest temple, when you have this, yes, you're on, it's now, and the cable is plugged with the place, then you have to be very quick. There's no sitting in there. You do what you have to do, and that exchange happens pretty fast. It's usually within 20 minutes, not barely more.
Imagine that you're plugged in 20,000 volts of electricity. You cannot survive more than what's necessary. So it's really short and brief.
Yeah.
From few seconds to maximum 15 minutes. It's like, if it's more than that, then you're doing something wrong.
Well, if it's more than that, actually what happens is that you're overstaying in that energy, and it starts turning the other way around, and you start losing energy. So because you can't sustain it, so it's like, when you want to fill the cup, will you pour for 1 hour in the same cup, which is overflowing, or you pour enough to fill the cup? Usually we we hold it to the, because what you need to pay for is also for the overflowing. Yeah, how much water you took from the place, that much you're paying. So if you stay for 3 hours completely plugged in, it costs a lot of energy, so it's taken away from you. If you stay the right amount of time and you respect when it's time to unplug, your battery is charged, it's all good. Don't stay more than that, and respect it also the unplugging moment.
So the point is, the mind will not understand what's going on. This is purely energetic process, and this is, you will understand what had happened after the fact. So for now, we plug in, we'll let the thing happen on thousands of planes at the same time, and then in integration, we will understand what had happened.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, more or less 20 minutes. That's the energetic kind of average of exchange, and then you need to unplug from the intensity, and you can hang out again in the waiting room. Which brings us to the last step, the step number 8, gratitude
And closing.
and closing the personal field, saying goodbye, and really resting. The worst thing you can do after a ceremony or
That you are now hurrying
yeah,
someone.
that you have to be somewhere. It's just not gonna happen, or it will happen with some kind of difficulty, because that integration period right after you have finished what you needed to do is very important to rebalance the fields, so you can go even on the road. Number of times that the car breaks down, the motorbike doesn't start after the ceremony, because we're not on the level where it can even happen.
Scuba diving, remember, you are still in that high depth of like 30, 50 meters. You have to slowly come back to the surface and to attune to the frequency of the surface, to the pressure of the surface. And it has to be gradual.
And with grounding, like always, take something with you to eat, to drink, so that actually you come back to the place of, and better if you can ground with something from the place and not something you brought from home, but
Usually,
really,
something from the offering is possible. Now, those offering pieces have been connected to the divine source, and they are enriched for you to consume.
and leaving the place when you feel that okay, now it's good, you're stabilized, you're back into your personal sphere, and you're ready to go. Because what has happened a number of times, I have friends who have really forgotten some light bodies in the temples that I kind of unhooked for them and sent back, because sometimes experience can be so high, so extravagant, that light bodies do not want to leave. They want to stay there because it's just too cool. And then your physical body says, okay, now time to go. And the other bodies are still chilling, with the goddess. So, so it's like, and then you don't, and then you go home and you're empty and you're confused and you don't know what to do. You don't want to eat. Nothing makes sense, and it drags on and on and on. And you're like, I'm ungrounded. Well, not exactly ungrounded, but you've left some pieces
Light body stayed at the temple.
in where they like to hang out. Light bodies usually don't really like to be in the body, and they're looking for a good reason to
check out.
Yeah, to check out and to stay where they like to be. So being sure that we collect all belongings, including the light bodies, before we leave the temple or the sacred space. Very important. Otherwise, we have seen that flights are not happening, delays of all kinds. So we don't need to organize delays. We don't have
flat
to hold
tires.
back the whole plane, just because we are not integrated. Just being mindful of this closing part, which is as important as the opening part.
And I think we need to talk a little bit about after effects.
Yeah. We do have after effects after powerful ceremonies, especially when it really something magical happened. We do have after effects, which mostly they affect all parts of the body. The physical body, you can feel tired or sleepy or headachy. Etherical body, your emotional body, you can be grumpy or empty or kind of irritated, yeah, or disoriented.
You can also be high, it's also a possibility. But usually, if you have received the higher level of energy, you will usually then be at the place where you will feel unaligned and irritated because some of the things that you held in your system are actually now ready to be released because you're ready for the next level. And whenever you go to the next level, well, some of the shadow that you have inside is going to have to leak out to get out. So you will be faced either the same day or in the couple of next coming days with
Mm-hmm.
some shadow and some unpleasant things that are there to be
Mm-hmm.
purged away and cleansed away from your system.
Mm-hmm.
And that's to be expected and
Yeah,
welcomed.
it's just the way it is. Yeah, it's something has been poured in, something needs to come out. But for you three goddesses, Sylvia, Arne, and Marlia, singing goddesses, uh, there are high chances that actually when you receive the higher download and you kind of tone and sing and interact, whatever needed to come out will be transmuted that way right then and there. So you don't have to have these after effects and slowly kind of integrate. It's a possibility because the toning and the voice does have the power to immediately shift what needs to be. So sometimes when you sing, remember guys how we were singing for Devi in Sebatu? So this devotional singing is a totally different interaction with the place. So you might not feel grumpy or irritated or sleepy after. You might be actually filled with light and energy because that's what the goddess gives back. So knowing the difference, again, we're back to intention and sensitivity of what you are there to do. And if it's for your personal process, then you can easily transmute it with your voice right then and there or after. But within a portal, so that light that you have received actually fills you and stays, and everything else is dealt with on the spot. And at last, to know has something really happened from your visit to the sacred place, you observe the synchronicities. Either things look or feel different, events might change. It's very rare that nothing really changes. If nothing changes, that means
That
it's
something with
experiences,
preparation wasn't
yeah,
right.
that something is not integrated, and you might go back in your mind and kind of try to get back to the experience and see maybe some step was missed. But usually there are huge shifts very instantly in the immediate reality from any kind of powerful ceremony. I can share that while we were in this famous temple, I had the intention to take my mom, who has huge health problems, etherically through the process. But she even kind of smelled it to the point that she called me while I was exactly standing there. Out of all times, we call once a week, and out of all times, she called me when I was there. I said, okay. She dialed in, she signed in. And I said, okay, I'm gonna take you through a little temple. You relax, put the candle, get ready on your side. You'll receive transmission. And the next day she calls. And she says, your thing there worked. Like some major issue was fixed by complete miracle because she did those steps on her side right off her bed. Um, but I performed them physically, and it was not a coincidence. It couldn't be a coincidence in any ways, and this is how it immediately shows that the energetic exchange between you and the place was fruitful, was efficient, and actually worked. So be ready for anything, including that the release and these after effects are actually before effects, and
Yeah, sometimes it
the
happens before we go there.
problems and challenges are happening exactly before, because your soul already knows what it's going for. So it's kind of pouring out what is too much before, so that you can just then receive. If you were poured in while you were already full, then you'll deal with it after.
So the process pretty much starts as soon as the intention has been put out there and made public. So when this after effects or before effects happen, it can be before or after.
And so to briefly touch upon like major sacred sites, yeah, I told you, like, being a little bit mindful and careful with places like Stonehenge on some very established kind of well-known power spots. Always double check with your personal kind of synchronicities and feelings what this place could be or will be for you. Don't take anything for granted just because it has a reputation. But there's one extraordinary place, power spot on earth, which is Mount Kailash. And that is so beyond the beyond, yeah, that
In Tibet.
connecting to the energies of some like extreme power place like this, where generations and thousands of yogis have actually imprinted their knowledge. It's like a huge akashic library of the earth.
Etheric library of amazing amounts of wisdom that is accessed exactly in this way that we talked about now. It's not being read by the mind, it is absorbed through your energetic field and downloaded and then unpacked as you go through life.
And if you're ready for like this kind of extreme power place, it will pop in your awareness. If you have nothing to do with it, you will not even hear about it ever. So being mindful, what
You have heard it now.
yeah, you have you have heard it now, because this is like, in my scale of kind of sacred places, this is like the ultimate portal and holder of the wisdom library of the earth. But it's not easy to connect to it because of its extremely high and different vibration and
Altitude.
and altitude, and it it needs to be really prepared. But that place is, for example, beyond even mm, being messed with. You can't mess with that kind of, because it stands beyond of what one human can corrupt, or even a group of humans.
We
It's
can put it this way:
uncorrupted.
if Earth would disappear and explode, the wisdom that is kept in there will still stay. So it is stronger than whatever holds the planet.
Yeah. So there are these places that cannot be corrupted in any ways. They'll stay standing even if the earth disappears. But other places, you need to double check, is it for you? Is it true? Is it pure? Is it time? Do you need it? And use always this little bit critical and skeptical discernment to never go for what someone said or recommended to do. Take the information, but really, really make it your own personal experience and cross-reference with synchronicities that surround it in your personal life. That's the only guideline that is beyond any doubt and works at all times. Yes,
That
Sylvia.
which is your truth is always actually and the truth. Sylvia,
Can you
please put
put
the
the
mic
mic
a little
closer?
closer.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the same answer as, would you go hiking to Annapurna by yourself with a map and your estimation, or you go with a guide who has been there, knows the trails, and takes you in the most comfortable and best possible ways? It's exactly that the difference. I have, I've done hundreds of sacred journeys in Bali, and beyond magical every time. But I go always and always with Sedana, our friend, that I trust, and there's an added magic because they are connected. We will never be as connected to the place as the
Somebody
local
born there.
person
Yeah.
is, because the energies were completely different. They add another layer of synchronicity, of depth, of explanation, of holding the space. Many things happen through them, through your guide. Like here in the mountains, we took a guide. We didn't need one, but we still took a little boy. The way he is attuned to the local culture and places is amazing, and plus such a beautiful combination. So I wouldn't do it by myself if I can have someone that I really enjoy to do it with. So if you need
But important to
to do
know
it with someone,
who it is,
yeah,
though.
yeah, we can totally
Quality of
connect
a
you.
person. Yeah.
Hmm.
We will connect you with our people that we go with if you need. Yes.
Yeah, but it's a good point, Sylvia, because it's we're always tempted to do it kind of, you know, we think we know how to do it, and there's nothing. Yeah, we can always look at the map and find our path, but it's guides are there for this reason, and we better go with them. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, it's
So voilà.
translators.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So that's what we have for today, and
Anita, beautiful to have you even for those few moments. Uh, yeah, you kind of delved into the energy. It was a beautiful energy of the group.
hmm
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
so yeah. Don't hesitate. Go on for sacred sites if that's your calling, and really enjoy every bit of it. Make the most out of that experience, and build your personal sensitivity and library of how it works. It can be really really
It's enriching.
enriching and magical at the same time. So in the meantime, we're sending you blessings from all those mega sites that we visited and connected to. It's beaming through there. It's here in the crystals. And it's almost as if you have been there, because we've been kind of consciously infusing this screen and field with our experience, because it's really not easy to get to. So direct live transmitted to you through us as a gift, as a blessing, and with all love and power of Himalayas. Thank you, thank you, thank you,
Thank you.
and see you next week. Ciao, ciao.